Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. Coming off Michigan's 40-21 win in Ann Arbor at the Big House Saturday night against Middle Tennessee State. I've got your Michigan football grades. I'm breaking down the coaching staff and each position for offense and defense. Let's start with the coaching staff first. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan's fifth-year head coach, 38-14 record. Coming into this game, improves to 39-14. I'm giving Jim Harbaugh a B-. I thought the team came out a little sluggish early on, and then I don't think there's any reason why you need to hold back anything on the offense in the second half, which was fairly a brutal offensive performance or, offensive creativity. That reminded me of a Lloyd Carr-era offense where you turn it on in the second quarter and then you sit on your laurels in the second half. Tariq Black, Theo Collins, no catches in the second half. How about Josh Gattis? Michigan's first game offensive coordinator. I'm going to match him up to Jim Harbaugh. They're kind of locked at the hip here. B- for Josh Gattis. Some creativity, but way too difficult on some of these passing routes. They went these corner passing routes to Ronnie Bell, these really difficult sideline routes to Tariq Black way too often. The only way this offense is going to compete with the Alabamas, Ohio States, Clemson's, Oklahoma, is if they get guys open over the middle, speed and space. I know Josh Gattis is tying himself to that hashtag. Let's actually see it against Army next week. Don Brown, he have 21 points. I'm giving Don Brown a B for this one, though, because 14 of those points came right off of Michigan turnovers. You had the Shea Patterson fumble on the first play of the game, and then you had the Lavert Hill middle to late in the second quarter punt return fumble, kind of filling in for Donovan Peoples-Jones. Don't know how much play he got in fall camp at that position. So I'm giving Don Brown a B. If not for those turnovers, Michigan may have not given up 21 points, potentially, 7, 10, 14. It would have been a much different ball game had Michigan not had those two costly turnovers. Nevertheless, 40-21 is the final. I'm giving Jim Harbaugh a B-, Josh Gattis a B-, and Don Brown a B. He is our highest rated coach coming out of this opener, August 31st in Ann Arbor at the Big House under the lights. But I want to know from you guys, go ahead and grade Josh Gattis' debut as Michigan's offensive coordinator. I'll tell you what, there was a stretch at the end of the first quarter to maybe like the middle of the second quarter, a good 12 minutes of clock time, 40 minutes of real time, something like that, how football goes, where I was giving him an A+. But the first drive, the second half was really pedestrian. I didn't see anything new or anything exciting from that offense. And I thought some of the ways to use Dylan McCaffrey were rather rudimentary, to say the least. So A, B, C, D, or F. Give me your grade for Josh Gattis. You can use pluses or minuses. No hard feelings if you do one of those. I gave a B-. Want to know from you guys below in the comments section. Let's take a look at the positions for Michigan. Shea Patterson, starting quarterback his second year. Interesting stat they said a number of times throughout the game. Shea Patterson, 7 300-yard passing games in his career. None are at the University of Michigan. But let's take a look at Shea's stats here. 17 of 29, 203 passing yards, 7 yards per pass average there, 3 touchdowns. But folks, he had 197 at halftime. He threw for 6 passes. What was he, 1 for 4, Brett? Did we say 1 for 4 for 6 yards in the second half? I'm giving Shea Patterson a B grade for the game. At halftime, other than that fall, I'd probably give him a B+ at halftime. Maybe a C- in the second half. So combine those, you get a B. Some people may call it a B-. But look, 200 yards isn't going to cut it as Michigan's quarterback. I'm not blaming Shea here. I think Shea's the man for the job. I think he's the best quarterback Michigan's had since Chad Henne, at least in 2007 and all the way back to 2004. But you can't turn the ball over early. But nevertheless, 200 yards, 6 yards in the second half. I can only give him a B. Had he got to the 300-yard game, he might have got B+ or A. How about the running backs? Zach Charbonnet got your start. Kind of a surprise. I've been saying all year he's going to get the start by midseason. Clearly, it's not True Wilson, folks. Clearly, it is not True Wilson. Giving the running backs a C, though. Other than a couple runs by Charbonnet in the second half, these running backs didn't show much. Now, Michigan is down 2 offensive linemen. Andrew Stuber, a story we broke 2 weeks ago, and then John Runyon Jr. did not make the start. So Charbonnet got 8 carries, 90 yards. 40 plus those came on one run. So without that, 7 carries, 50 yards, pretty decent. Christian Turner, 11 for 50. And then Drew Wilson, who got hurt, came back later in the game, but only 2 carries for him for 8 yards on the day. Running backs get a C from me, James Yoder, on the Michigan Football Report. How about the wide receivers? Gosh, if this is the first half grade only, I would have given them an A+, but didn't show up at all in the second half. B+ for this grade. And I got to take a little bit back because Ronnie Bell was targeted 3 times in the end zone, caught none of them. 2 hit his fingers, hit his hands. 1 was overthrown a little bit, but it went back-to-back in the first half when Michigan settled for a field goal. And then right after a turnover, they went back to him. He was wide open, and Shea overthrew him by maybe a half yard, but he still got his hands on him. Tariq Black leads the way, 4 catches, 80 yards. Nico, 3 for 49. Sean McCune, 2 for 37 from the tight end position. And then Cornelius Johnson, 2 for 19. Donovan Peoples-Jones, if you saw my Twitter account about 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, you would have saw that I was told that Donovan's trying to play, but if he gets in, it's going to be limited snaps. Turns out it was no snaps at all. So make sure to follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram, folks. Listen, there's no competition anymore at this point. It's Yoder and everybody else, but giving you breaking news. B+ for the wide receivers. So I want to know from you guys. This is going to get interesting because a guy I know, Michael Spath, who is now at WTKA, he put out a story a couple days ago that someone sent to me that said Michigan's 3 wide receivers, DPJ, Collins, and Black, at least 2 of them are going to go pro. And he's actually saying, and I don't know if he's just paraphrasing someone else or he believes this, Michael Spath, but he said one of these guys is going to transfer and do a 3-year grad transfer somewhere else to try and be the man. I don't believe that necessarily, but with Peoples-Jones sitting out and Tariq Black and Nico Collins both getting targets specifically in the red zone, I don't know from you guys, who is Michigan's best wide receiver? I'm still saying Donovan Peoples-Jones and Tariq are tied 1 and 1A. But I'm sorry, Nico Collins 1 and 1A. But Tariq Black showed me some stuff tonight. He definitely has thrown his hat in the ring for Michigan's best wide receiver. How about tight end, though? Sean McCune. You've got Nick Eubanks, who I really like. I thought he was going to get a little more play than he did. Give the tight ends a B+, okay? They played well in an offense not built for what they do here at Michigan football under Josh Gattis' offense. So McCune played well. He got a touchdown when Michigan needed it. And I think if they can get that tight end up the middle, kind of a release play where no one's expecting it, a play right after they tried to go to Ronnie Bell in the corner end zone and overthrew him. Next play, he was wide open, Sean McCune was. But nevertheless, tight ends played well. B+ for them on the day for this one. But the offensive line was really a disappointment today. John Runyon Jr. out with an injury. I'm going to make this proclamation here. I don't think he plays next week against Army either. Ryan Hayes got the start, not at right tackle. I thought they were going to flip Mayfield over, but he got the start at left tackle in his first game as a redshirt freshman. Jalen Mayfield stuck at right tackle. So you're down potentially 2 starters, Andrew Stuber, John Runyon. You're starting a couple second-year guys, redshirt freshmen. Nevertheless, C- grade for the offensive line. Got very little push in the running game. And I saw Shea Patterson a little uncomfortable too many times throughout the game to give him anything more than C-. So a lot of improvement for Ed Warner's offensive line. How about special teams? So you got Moody. I'm going to look at his stats. What do you have? 1 field goal, 2 field goals, whatever it was. Moody had 2 field goals. That's right. I'm trying to remember if 1 or 2. Obviously, they made their extra points. Will Hart, 41.6 yards on 5 punts, averaged 208 yards punting in the day. But come on, Lavert Hill, you cannot fumble that ball. So with that, C grade for the special teams. A costly turnover when Michigan was about to blow Middle Tennessee State out of the water in the middle of the second half. I'm giving the special teams a C. If it was just kickers, they might get like a B+. Hart, Moody, Quinn Nordine coming in on the extra points. But nevertheless, with that turnover, and really, the return game at all did nothing. Giles Jackson had some nice flashes of future brilliance, but didn't really lead to any big-time gains. And Lavert Hill did nothing in the punt return. They replaced him with Ronnie Bell, who had 3 returns for 41 yards in the second half, a long of 27. How about the defensive line, though? This is my biggest concern coming out of this game versus expectations, okay? I don't think the defensive line did much of anything, and if you look at the stats, you're going to see that here in a moment. But I'm going to give them a C+. And I'll give the offensive line a little bit less, but with two potential starters, Stuber and Runyon missing, I'm grading versus expectations here in some ways. But the defensive line, they played okay, but wow. Aiden Hutchinson showed up a little bit. Michael Dana, 3 tackles, 1 quarterback hurry, and then your third leading performer on this defensive line is Ben Mason. Where is Michael Dwumfour? Where is Kwity Paye? Where is this defensive line, these guys that are coming back that Don Brown's calling one of his best and fastest and all this different stuff? This defensive line was rather pedestrian against Middle Tennessee State. Hutchinson had a little bit going on, but I thought it was one of the more mediocre performances I've seen out of a Michigan defensive line in a handful of years. So I want to know about you guys. How concerned are you about the defensive line? Scale of 1 to 10. 1 meaning no concern, 10 a lot of concern. I watched Ohio State play today. I watched Michigan State play yesterday. I watched Penn State and Wisconsin play, and they kicked some ass. Maryland dropped 79 points on somebody this weekend, too. I mean, the Big Ten West is kind of looking average other than Wisconsin. The Big Ten East looking pretty good. I'm going like an 8, guys. I better see something out of them next week against this triple option attack with Army. Or we have serious concerns about the future of, not the future, but the ability of this Michigan team to go further this year than they have under Jim Harbaugh, which is a Big Ten championship and a college football playoff berth. But the linebackers played very well, in my opinion. You might have different opinions. I'm giving them an A. I'm giving the linebacking crew an A for Jim Harbaugh's 5th Wolverine team. A lot of standouts from that linebacking core, including Jordan Glasgow, who's got 2 brothers in the NFL, a former walk-on himself. Tackles, sacks, hurries. Really good game by these 3 guys, Khaleke Hudson, Josh Ross, and Jordan Glasgow. Glasgow's certainly a surprise, but I liked what I saw of him. He is gangbusters all friggin' day. I love what I saw of Jordan Glasgow. He's one of the top 5 performers for the game from Michigan of special teams, offense, and defense. A for the linebacker secondary. How about Ambry Thomas, baby? Welcome back with an interception, a much-needed interception for Ambry Thomas. And I was excited to see him back on the field. I tweeted it out. I said, Ambry Thomas, who the heck's number 1? I had to look up at I literally checked the roster. I'm like, did they give his number to somebody else? Because there was no way he was playing. I'm giving the secondary a B. All right? Stats here from Asher O'Hara. Great name, by the way, by Middle Tennessee's quarterback. 22 of 32, 217, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But they were put in bad positions from those offensive turnovers. And one of those touchdowns was a garbage time touchdown late in the game. So I think with Michigan being up by double digits for most of the game, that you've definitely got to give the secondary a little slack. But they didn't give up any big plays deep. They certainly, only one play I thought, that second touchdown towards the end of the first half, where the quarterback from Middle Tennessee State rolled out to the right and had a wide open guy, is the only time I said, who was guarding that guy? But nevertheless, that is where we are at. B for the secondary. Those are our Michigan football report grades for Michigan's Game 1 win over Middle Tennessee State. Folks, we've got more Michigan football content for you right here, including the highlights for the win over Middle Tennessee State. And if you haven't yet, hit this button right here, subscribe to the Michigan Football Report. We'll be back in a couple days with some more Michigan football news and rumors. Go Blue.